Canto 55. The hermitage burnt. So o'er the field that host lay strown, by Visvamitra's darts o'erthrown. Then thus v a execute ish letter 1e60 h a charge the cow. Create with all thy vigor now. Forth sprang Cambojas, as she lode, bright as the sun their faces glowed, forth from her utter barbars poured. Soldiers who brandished spear and sword, and Yavans with their shafts and darts, and Sakas from her hinder parts. And every pore upon her fell, and every hair-producing cell, with mlechas, 229, and karatas, 230, teemed, and forth with them haritas streamed. And Visvamitra's mighty force, car, elephant, and foot, and horse, fell in a moment's time, subdued by that tremendous multitude. The monarch's 100 sons, whose eyes beheld the rout in wild surprise, armed with all weapons, mad with rage, rushed fiercely on the holy sage. One cry he raised, one glance he shot, and all fell scorched upon the spot. Burnt by the sage to ashes, they with horse and foot and chariot lay. The monarch mourned with shame and pain, his army lost, his children slain like ocean when his roar is hushed, or some great snake whose fangs are crushed, or as in swift eclipse the sun dark with the doom he cannot shun, or a poor bird with mangled wing. So, reft of sons and host, the king no longer, by ambition fired, the pride of war his breast inspired. He gave his empire to his son, of all he had, the only one, and bade him rule as kings are taught. Then straight a hermit grove he sought. Far to Himalaya's side he fled, which bards and nagas visited, and Mahadevas, 231 grace to earn, he gave his life to penance stern. A lengthened season thus passed by, when Siva's self, the Lord Most High, whose banner shows the pictured bull, 232 appeared, the God most bountiful. Why fervent thus in toil and pain? What brings thee here? What boon to gain? Thy heart's desire, O monarch, speak, I grant the boons which mortals seek. The king, his adoration paid, to Mahadeva answer made. If thou hast deemed me fit to win thy favor, O thou void of sin, on me, O mighty God, bestow the wondrous science of the bow all mine, complete in every part, with secret spell and mystic art. To me be all the arms revealed that gods, and saints and titans wield, and every dart that arms the hands of spirits, fiends, and minstrel bands, be mine, O Lord supreme in place, this token of thy boundless grace. The Lord of gods then gave consent, and to his heavenly mansion went. Triumphant in the arms he held, the monarch's breast with glory swelled. So swells the ocean, when upon his breast the full moon's beams have shone. Already in his mind, he viewed via execute, ish letter 1e60 h, are at his feet subdued. He sought that hermit's grove, and there launched his dire weapons through the air, till scorched by might that none could stay the hermitage in ashes lay. Where'er the inmates saw, aghast, the dart that Visvamitra cast, to every side they turned and fled in hundreds forth disquieted. Via execute ish letter 1e60 h a s pupils caught the fear, and every bird and every deer, and fled in wild confusion forth eastward and westward, south and north. And so via execute ish letter 1e60 h a s holy shade a solitary wild was made, silent a while, for not a sound disturbed the hush that was around. Via execute ish letter 1e60 h a then, with eager cry called, fear not, friends, nor seek to fly. This son of Gadhai dies today, like hoar frost in the morning's ray. Thus having said, the glorious sage spoke to the king in words of rage. Because thou hast destroyed this grove which long in holy quiet throve, by folly urged to senseless crime, now shalt thou die before thy time. Canto 56. Visvamitra's vow. But Visvamitra, at the threat of that illustrious anchoret, cried as he launched with ready hand a fiery weapon, stand, O stand. Via execute ish letter 1e60 h a, wild with rage and hate, raising as twere the rod of fate, his mighty Brahmin wand on high to Visvamitra made reply. Nay, stand, O warrior thou, and show what soldier can, gainst Brahmin foe. O Gadhai's son, thy days are told, thy pride is tamed, thy dart is cold. How shall a warrior's puissance dare with Brahmin's awful strength compare? Today, base warrior, shall thou feel that God sent might is more than steel. He raised his Brahmin staff, nor missed the fiery dart that near him hissed, and quenched the fearful weapon fell, as flame beneath the billows swell. Then Gadhai's son in fury threw Lord Varu letter 1E47's arm and Rudra S2, Indra's fierce bolt that all destroys, that which the Lord of herds employs. The human, that which minstrels keep, the deadly lure, the endless sleep, the yawner, and the dart which charms, lament and torture fearful arms. The terrible, the dart which dries, the thunderbolt which quenchless flies, and fate's dread net, and Brahma's noose, and that which waits for Varu letter 1E47's use. The dart he loves who wields the bow Pinaka, and twin bolts that glow with fury as they flash and fly, the quenchless liquid and the dry, the dart of vengeance, swift to kill, the goblin's dart, the curlew's bill, the discus both of fate and right, and Vish letter 1E47US of unerring flight, the wind god's dart, the troubler dread, the weapon named the horse's head. From his fierce hand 2 spears were thrown, and the great mace that smashes bone, the dart of spirits of the air, and that which fate exults to bear, the trident dart which slaughters foes, and that which hanging skulls compose. 233. These fearful darts in fiery rain he hurled upon the Saint Amen, an awful miracle to view. But as the ceaseless tempest flew, the sage with wand of God-sent power still swallowed up that fiery shower. Then Gadhai's son, when these had failed, with Brahma's dart his foe assailed. The gods, with Indra at their head, and Nagas, quailed disquieted, and saints and minstrels, when they saw the king that awful weapon draw, and the 3 worlds were filled with dread, and trembled as the missile sped. The saint, with Brahman wand, empowered by lore divine, that dart devoured. Nor could the triple world withdraw rapt gazes from that sight of awe, for, as he swallowed down the dart of Brahma, sparks from every part, from finest pore and hair cell, broke enveloped in a veil of smoke. The staff he waved was all aglow like Yama's scepter, king below, or like the lurid fire of fate whose rage the worlds will desolate. The hermits whom that sight had awed extolled the saint with hymn and laud. Thy power, O sage, is ne'er in vain, now with thy might restrain. Be gracious, master, and allow the worlds to rest from trouble now, for Visvamitra, strong and dread, by thee has been discomfited. Then thus addressed, the saint, well pleased, the fury of his wrath appeased. The king, o'erpowered and ashamed, with many a deep-drawn sigh exclaimed, Ah! Warrior's strength is poor and slight, a Brahman's power is truly might. This Brahman staff, the hermit held the fury of my darts has quelled. This truth within my heart impressed, with senses ruled and tranquil breast my task austere will I begin, and Brahmanhood will strive to win. Canto 57. Trisanku. Then with his heart consumed with woe, still brooding on his overthrow by the great saint he had defied, at every breath the monarch sighed. Forth from his home his queen he led, and to a land far southward fled. There, fruit and roots his only food, he practiced penance, sense subdued, and in that solitary spot 4 virtuous sons the king begot. Havishand, from the offering named, and Madishand, for sweetness famed, Maharath, chariot born in fight, and Dri letter 1E0DH, a Netr, a strong of sight. 1,000 years had passed away, when Brahma, sire whom all obey, addressed in pleasant words like these him rich in long austerities. Thou by the penance, Cusick's son, a place, mid royal saints hast won. Pleased with thy constant penance, we this lofty rank assign to thee. Thus spoke the glorious Lord, most high Father of earth and air and sky, and with the gods around him spread home to his changeless sphere he sped. But Visvamitra scorned the grace, and bent in shame his angry face. Burning with rage, o'erwhelmed with grief, thus in his heart exclaimed the chief, No fruit, I ween, have I secured by strictest penance long endured, if gods and all the saints decree to make but royal saint of me. Thus pondering, he with sense subdued, with sternest zeal his vows renewed. Then reigned a monarch, true of soul, who kept each sense in firm control. Of old Ikshvaku's line he came, that glories in Trisanku's 234 name. Within his breast, O Raghu's child, arose a longing strong and wild, great offerings to the gods to pay, and win alive to heaven his way. His priest Vosacute, Ish letter 1E60, Hs aid he sought, and told him of his secret thought. But wise Vosacute, Ish letter 1E60, H showed the hope was far beyond the monarch's scope. Trisanku then, his suit denied, far to the southern region hied, to beg Vosacute Ish letter 1E60, H's sons to aid the mighty plan his soul had made. Their king Trisanku, far renowned, via execute ish letter 160 H's 100 children found, each on his fervent vows intent, for mind and fame preeminent. To these the famous king applied, wise children of his holy guide. Saluting each in order due. His eyes, for shame, he downward threw, and reverent hands together pressed, the glorious company addressed. I as a humble suppliant seek succor of you who aid the weak. A mighty offering I would pay, but sage via execute ish letter 160 H answered, nay. Be yours permission to accord, and to my rights your help afford. Sons of my guide, to each of you with lowly reverence here I sue, to each, intent on penance vow. O Brahmins, low my head I bow, and pray you each with ready heart in my great right to bear a part, that in the body I may rise and dwell with gods within the skies. Sons of my guide, none else I see can give what he refuses me. Ikshvaku's children still depend upon their guide most reverend, and you, as nearest in degree to him, my deities shall be. Canto 58. Trisanku cursed. Trisanku's speech the 100 heard, and thus replied to anger stirred. Why, foolish king, by him denied, whose truthful lips have never lied, dost thou transgress his prudent rule, and seek for aid another school? 235. Ikshvaku's sons have I relied most surely on their holy guide. Then how dost thou, fond monarch, dare transgress the rule his lips declare? Thy wish is vain, the saint replied, and bade thee cast the plan aside. Then how can we, his sons, pretend in such a right our aid to lend? O monarch of the childish heart, home to thy royal town depart. That mighty saint, thy priest and guide, at noblest rites may well preside. The worlds for sacrifice combined a worthier priest could never find. Such speech of theirs the monarch heard, though rage distorted every word, and to the hermits made reply. You, like your sire, my suit deny. For other aid I turn from you, so, rich in penance, saints adieu. Via execute ish letter 160 H's children heard, and guessed his evil purpose scarce expressed, and cried, while rage their bosoms burned. B to a vile ch a letter 147 letter 110d, al a 236. Turned. This said, with lofty thoughts inspired, each to his own retreat retired. That night Trisanku underwent sad change in shape and lineament. Next morn, an outcast sort of hue, his dusky cloth he round him drew. His hair had fallen from his head, and roughness o'er his skin was spread. Such wreaths adorned him, as are found to flourish on the funeral ground. Each armlet was an iron ring, such was the figure of the king that every counselor and peer, and following townsmen, fled in fear. Alone, unyielding to dismay, though burnt by anguish night and day, great Visvamitra's side he sought, whose treasures were by penance bought. The hermit with his tender eyes looked on Trisanku's altered guise, and grieving at his ruined state addressed him thus, compassionate. Great king, the pious hermit said, what cause thy steps has hither led, Ayodhya's mighty sovereign, whom a curse has plagued with outcast's doom? In vile ch a letter 147 letter 110d, al a 237 shape. The king heard Visvamitra's questioning, and, suppliant palm to palm applied, with answering eloquence he cried. My priest and all his sons refused to aid the plan on which I mused. Failing to win the boon I sought, to this condition I was brought. I in the body, saint, would fain a mansion in the skies obtain. I planned 100 rites for this, but still was doomed the fruit to miss. Pure are my lips from falsehood's stain, and pure they ever shall remain, yea, by a warrior's faith I swear, though I be tried with grief and care. Unnumbered rites to heaven I paid, with righteous care the scepter swayed, and holy priest and high-souled guide my modest conduct gratified. But O thou best of hermits, they oppose my wish these rites to pay, they one and all refuse consent, nor aid me in my high intent. Fate is, I ween, the power supreme, man's effort but an idle dream, fate whirls our plans, are all away, fate is our only hope and stay. Now deign, O blessed saint, to aid me, even me by fate betrayed. Who come, a suppliant, sore distressed, one grace, O hermit, to request. No other hope or way I see, no other refuge waits for me. O, aid me in my fallen state, and human will shall conquer fate. Canto 59. The Sons of Vasishtha. Then Cusick's son, by pity warmed, spoke sweetly to the king transformed, "Hail! Glory of Ikshvaku's line, I know how bright thy virtues shine. Dismiss thy fear, O noblest chief, for I myself will bring relief. The holiest saints will I invite to celebrate thy purposed right. So shall thy vow, O king, succeed, and from thy cares shalt thou be freed. Thou in the form which now thou hast, transfigured by the curse they cast, yea, in the body, king, shalt flee transported, where thou fain wouldst be. O Lord of men, I ween that thou hast heaven within thy handing now, for very wisely hast thou done, and refuge sought with Cusick's son." Thus having said, the sage addressed his sons, of men the holiest, and bade the prudent saints whate'er was needed for the right prepare. The pupils he was wont to teach he summoned next, and spoke this speech. "Go bid v a execute ish letter 1e60 h o a sons appear, and all the saints be gathered here. And what they won and all reply when summoned by this mandate high, to me with faithful care report. Omit no word and none distort." The pupils heard, and prompt obeyed, to every side their way they made. Then swift from every quarter sped the sages in the Vedas read. Back to that saint the envoys came, whose glory shone like burning flame, and told him in their faithful speech the answer that they bore from each. "Submissive to thy word, O seer, the holy men are gathering here." By all was meet obedience shown. Ayodhyá 238 refused alone. "And now, O chief of hermits, hear what answer, chilling us with fear. V a execute ish letter 1e60 h a s 100 sons returned, thick speaking as with rage they burned. How will the gods and saints partake the offerings that the prince would make, and he a vile and outcast thing, his ministrant one born a king? Can we, great Brahmins, eat his food and think to win beatitude, by Visvamitra purified?" Thus sire and sons in scorn replied, and as these bitter words they said, wild fury made their eyeballs red. Their answer when the arch-hermit heard, his tranquil eyes with rage were blurred, great fury in his bosom woke, and thus unto the youths he spoke. "Me, blameless me they dare to blame, and disallow the righteous claim my fierce austerities have earned, to ashes be the sinners turned. Caught in the noose of fate, shall they to Yama's kingdom sink today. 700 times shall they be born to wear the clothes the dead have worn. Dregs of the dregs, too vile to hate, the flesh of dogs their maws shall sate. In hideous form, in loathsome weed, a sad existence each shall lead. Ayodhyá too, the fool who fain my stainless life would try to stain stained in the world with long disgrace, shall sink into a fowler's place. Rejoicing guiltless blood to spill, no pity through his breast shall thrill. Cursed by my wrath for many a day, his wretched life for sin shall pay." Thus, girt with hermit, saint, and priest, great Visvamitra spoke and ceased. Canto 60. Trisanku's Ascension. So with ascetic might, in ire, he smote the children and the sire. Then Visvamitra, far renowned, addressed the saints who gathered round. "See by my side Trisanku stand, Ikshvaku's son, of liberal hand. Most virtuous and gentle, he seeks refuge in his woe with me. Now, holy men, with me unite, and order so his purposed right that in the body he may rise and win a mansion in the skies." They heard his speech with ready ear, and every bosom filled with fear of Visvamitra, wise and great, spoke each to each in brief debate. The breast of Cusick's son, we know, with furious wrath is quick to glow. Whate'er the words he wills to say, we must, be very sure obey. Fierce is our Lord as fire, and straight may curse us all infuriate. So let us in these rites engage, as ordered by the holy sage. And with our best endeavor strive that King Ikshvaku's son, alive, in body to the skies may go by his great might who wills it so. Then was the rite begun with care, all requisites and means were there, and glorious Visvamitra lent his willing aid as president. And all the sacred rites were done by rule and use, omitting none. By chaplain priest, the hymns who knew in decent form and order due. Some time in sacrifice had passed, and Visvamitra made, at last, the solemn offering with the prayer that all the gods might come and share. But the immortals, one and all, refused to hear the hermit's call. Then red with rage his eyeballs blazed, the sacred ladle high he raised, and cried to King Ikshvaku's son, "Behold my power, by penance won, now by the might my merits lend, Ikshvaku's child, to heaven ascend." in living frame the skies attain, which mortals thus can scarcely gain. My vows austere, so long endured, have, as I ween, some fruit assured. Upon its virtue, king, rely, and in thy body reach the sky. His speech had scarcely reached its close, when, as he stood, the sovereign rose, and mounted swiftly to the skies before the wondering hermit's eyes. But Indra, when he saw the king his blissful regions entering, with all the army of the blessed, thus cried unto the unbidden guest, with thy best speed, Trisanku, flee, here is no home prepared for thee. By thy great master's curse brought low, go, falling headlong earthward go. Thus by the Lord of gods addressed, Trisanku fell from fancied rest, and screaming in his swift descent, "Oh, save me, hermit," down he went. And Visvamitra heard his cry, and marked him falling from the sky, and giving all his passion sway, cried out in fury, "Stay, oh stay!" By penance bower and holy lore, like him who framed the worlds of yore, 7 other saints he fixed on high to star with light the southern sky. Girt with his sages forth he went, and southward in the firmament, new-wreathed stars prepared to set in many a sparkling coronet. He threatened, blind with rage and hate, another Indra to create, or from his throne the ruler hurled, all Indraless to leave the world. Yea, borne away by passion's storm, the sage began new gods to form. But then each titan, god, and saint, confused with terror, sick and faint, to high-souled Visvamitra hied, and with soft words to soothe him tried. Lord of high destiny, this king, to whom his master's curses cling, no heavenly home deserves to gain, unpurified from curse and stain. The son of Cusic, undeterred, the pleading of the immortals heard, and thus in haughty words expressed the changeless purpose of his breast. Content ye, gods, I sootly swear Trisanku to the skies to bear clothed in his body, nor can I my promise cancel or deny. Embodied let the king ascend to life in heaven, that ne'er shall end. And let these new-made stars of mine firm and secure forever shine. Let these, my work, remain secure long as the earth and heaven endure. This all ye gods I crave, do you allow the boon for which I sue? Then all the gods their answer made, so be it, saint, as thou hast prayed. Beyond the sun's diurnal way thy countless stars in heaven shall stay, and mid them hung, as one divine, head downward shall Trisanku shine, and all thy stars shall ever fling their rays attendant on the king. 239. The mighty saint, with glory crowned, with all the sages compassed round, praised by the gods, gave full assent, and gods and sages homeward went. Canto 61. Sanasefa. Then Visvamitra, when the blessed had sought their homes of heavenly rest, thus, mighty prince, his counsel laid before the dwellers of the shade. The southern land where now we are offers this check our rights to bar. 240, to other regions let us speed, and ply our tasks from trouble freed. Now turn we to the distant west. To Pushkar's, 241, wood where hermits rest, and there to rites austere apply, for not a grove with that can vie. The saint, in glory's light arrayed, in Pushkar's wood his dwelling made, and living there on roots and fruit did penance stern and resolute. The king who filled Ayodhya's throne, by Ambarisha's name far known, at that same time, it chanced, began a sacrificial rite to plan. But Indra took by force away the charger that the king would slay. The victim lost, the Brahmin sped to Ambarisha's side and said, "Gone is the steed, O king, and this is due to thee, in care remiss. Such heedless faults will kings destroy, who fail to guard what they enjoy. The flaw is desperate, we need the charger or a man to bleed. Quick! Bring a man if not the horse, that so the right may have its course." The glory of Ikshvaku's line made offer of 1,000 kine, and sought to buy at lordly price a victim for the sacrifice. To many a distant land he drove, to many a people, town, and grove, and holy shades where hermits rest, pursuing still his eager quest. At length on Brieg's sacred height the Saint Richika met his sight, sitting beneath the holy boughs. His children near him, and his spouse. The mighty lord drew near, essayed to win his grace, and reverence paid, and then the sainted king addressed the Brahmin saint with this request. Bought with 100,000 kine, give me, O sage, a son of thine to be a victim in the right, and thanks the favor shall requite. For I have roamed all countries round, nor sacrificial victim found. Then, gentle hermit, deign to spare one child amid the number there. Then to the monarch's speech replied the hermit, penance glorified. For countless kine, for hills of gold, mine eldest son shall ne'er be sold. But, when she heard the saint's reply, the children's mother, standing nigh, words such as these in answer said to Ambarisha, monarch dread. My lord the saint has spoken well, his eldest child he will not sell. And know, great monarch, that above the rest my youngest born I love. 'Tis ever thus, the father's joy is centered in his eldest boy. The mother loves her darling best, whom last she rocked upon her breast. My youngest I will ne'er forsake. As thus the sire and mother spake, young Sanasepha, of the three the midmost, cried unurged and free. My sire withholds his eldest son, my mother keeps her youngest one. Then take me with thee, king. I ween the son is sold who comes between. The king with joy his home resought, and took the prize his kine had bought. He bade the youth his car ascend, and hastened back the rites to end. 242. Canto 62. Ambarisha's sacrifice. As thus the king that youth conveyed, his weary steeds at length, he stayed at height of noon their rest to take upon the bank of Pushkar's lake. There while the king enjoyed repose the captive Sanasepha rose, and hasting to the water's side his uncle Visvamitra spied, with many a hermit neath the trees engaged in stern austerities. Distracted with the toil and thirst, with woeful mien, away he burst, swift to the hermit's breast he flew, and weeping thus began to sue. No sire have I, no mother dear, no kith or kin my heart to cheer, as justice bids, O hermit, deign to save me from the threatened pain. O thou to whom the wretched flee, and find a Saviour, saint, in thee now let the king obtain his will, and me my length of days fulfill, that rites austere I too may share, may rise to heaven and rest me there. With tender soul and gentle brow be guardian of the orphan thou, and as a father pities, so preserve me from my fear and woe. When Visvamitra, glorious saint, had heard the boy's heartrending plaint, he soothed his grief, his tears he dried, then called his sons to him, and cried, The time is come for you to show the duty and the aid bestow for which, regarding future life, a man gives children to his wife. This hermit son, whom here you see a suppliant, refuge seeks with me. O sons, the friendless youth befriend, and pleasing me his life defend. For holy works you all have wrought true to the virtuous life I taught. Go, and as victims doomed to bleed, die, and Lord Agni's hunger feed. So shall the rite completed end, this orphan gain a saving friend, due offerings to the gods be paid, and your own father's voice obeyed. Then Madhishiand and all the rest answered their sire with scorn and jest. What? Aid to others, sons afford, and leave thine own to die, my lord. To us it seems a horrid deed, as 'twere on one's own flesh to feed. The hermit heard his son's reply, and burning rage inflamed his eye. Then forth his words of fury burst, audacious speech, by virtue cursed. It lifts on end each shuddering hair, my charge to scorn, my wrath to dare. You, like V.A.S. acute, ISH letter 1E60, H.A.S. evil brood, shall make the flesh of dogs your food 1,000 years in many a birth, and punished thus shall dwell on earth. Thus on his sons his curse he laid. Then calmed again that youth dismayed, and blessed him with his saving aid. When in the sacred fetters bound, and with a purple garland crowned, at VISH letter 1E47 US post thou standest tied, with lauds be Agni glorified. And these two hymns of holy praise forget not, hermit's son, to raise in the king's right, and thou shalt be lord of thy wish, preserved and free. He learnt the hymns with mind intent, and from the hermit's presence went. To Ambarisha thus he spake, Let us our onward journey take. Haste to thy home, O king, nor stay the lustral rites with slow delay. The boys addressed the monarch cheered, and soon the sacred ground he neared. The convocation's high decree declared the youth from blemish free. Clothed in red raiment, he was tied a victim at the pillar's side. There bound, the fire god's hymn he raised, and Indra and Apendra praised. Thousand-eyed VISH letter 1E47U, pleased to hear the mystic laud, inclined his ear, and won by worship, swift to save, long life to Sanasepha gave. The king in bounteous measure gained the fruit of sacrifice ordained, by grace of him who rules the skies, Lord Indra of the 1,000 eyes. And Visvamitra evermore pursued his task on Pushkar's shore, until 1,000 years had passed in fierce austerity and fast. Canto 63. Minika. 1,000 years had thus flown by when all the gods within the sky, eager that he the fruit might gain of fervent rite, and holy pain approached the great ascetic, now bathed after toil and ended vow. Then Brahma speaking for the rest with sweetest words the sage addressed, "Hail, saint! This high and holy name thy rights have won, thy merits claim." Thus spoke the Lord whom gods revere, and sought again his heavenly sphere. But Visvamitra, more intent, his mind to sterner penance bent. So many a season rolled away, when Menaka, fair nymph, one day came down from paradise to lave her perfect limbs in Pushkar's wave. The glorious son of Cusick saw that peerless shape, without a flaw flash through the flood's translucent shroud, like lightning gleaming through a cloud. He saw her in that lone retreat, most beautiful from head to feet, and by Kandarpa's 243 might subdued he thus addressed her as he viewed. "Welcome, sweet nymph. O deign, I pray in these calm shades a while to stay. To me some gracious favor show, for love has set my breast aglow." He spoke. The fairest of the fair made for a while her dwelling there, while day by day the wild delight stayed vow austere and fervent right there, as the winsome charmer wove her spells around him in the grove, and bound him in a golden chain. 5 sweet years fled, and 5 again. Then Visvamitra woke to shame, and, fraught with anguish, memory came, for quick he knew, with anger fired, that all the immortals had conspired to lap his careless soul in ease and mar his long austerities. 10 years have passed, each day and night unheeded in delusive flight. So long my fervent rites were stayed, while thus I lay by love betrayed. As thus long sighs the hermit heaved, and, touched with deep repentance, grieved, he saw the fair one standing nigh with suppliant hands and trembling eye. With gentle words he bade her go, then sought the northern hills of snow. With firm resolve, he vowed to beat the might of love beneath his feet. Still northward to the distant side of Kaikeyí, 244, the hermit hied, and gave his life to penance there with rites austere most hard to bear. 1,000 years went by, and still he labored on the northern hill with pains so terrible and drear that all the gods were chilled with fear. And gods and saints, for swift advice, met in the halls of paradise. "Let Cusick's son," they counseled, "be a mighty saint by just decree." His ear to hear their counsel lent the sire of worlds, omnipotent. To him enriched by rites severe he spoke in accents sweet to hear, "Hail, mighty saint! Dear son, all hail! Thy fervor wins, thy toils prevail. Won by thy vows and zeal intense, I give this high preeminence." He to the general sire replied, not sad, nor wholly satisfied, "When thou, O Brahma, shalt declare the title, great beyond compare, of Brahman saint my worthy meed, hard earned by many a holy deed, then may I deem in sooth I hold each sense of body well controlled." Then Brahma cried, not yet, toil on a while, O anchoret." Thus having said, to heaven he went. The saint, upon his task intent, began his labors to renew, which sterner yet and fiercer grew. His arms upraised without a rest, with but one foot the earth he pressed, the air his food, the hermit stood still as a pillar hewn from wood. Around him in the summer days, 5 mighty fires combined to blaze. In floods of rain, no veil was spread save clouds, to canopy his head. In the dank dews both night and day, couched in the stream the hermit lay. Thus, till 1,000 years had fled, he plied his task of penance dread. Then Vish letter 1E47U, and the gods with awe the labors of the hermit saw, and Sakra, in his troubled breast, lord of the skies, his fear confessed, and brooded on a plan to spoil the merits of the hermit's toil. Encompassed by his gods of storm, he summoned Rampa, fair of form, and spoke a speech for woe and weal, the saint to mar, the god to heal. Canto 64. Rampa. A great emprise, O lovely maid, to save the gods, awaits thine aid, to bind the son of Cusick shore, and take his soul with love's sweet lure. Thus ordered by the 1,000-eyed, the suppliant nymph in fear replied, "O Lord of gods, this mighty sage is very fierce and swift to rage. I doubt not, he so dread and stern on me his scorching wrath will turn. Of this, my lord, am I afraid, have mercy on a timid maid." Her suppliant hands began to shake, when thus again Lord Indra spake, O Rampa, drive thy fears away, and as I bid do thou obey. In Kyle's form, who takes the heart when trees in spring to blossom start, I, with Kandarpa for my friend, close to thy side mine aid will lend. Do thou thy beauteous splendor arm with every grace and winsome charm, and from his awful rites seduce this Cusick's son, the stern recluse. Lord Indra ceased. The nymph obeyed, in all her loveliest charms arrayed, with winning ways and witching smile she sought the hermit to beguile. The sweet note of that tuneful bird the saint with ravished bosom heard, and on his heart a rapture passed as on the nymph a look he cast. But when he heard the bird prolong his sweet incomparable song, and saw the nymph with winning smile, the hermit's heart perceived the while. And straight he knew the thousand-eyed A-plot against his peace had tried. Then Cusick's son indignant laid his curse upon the heavenly maid. Because thou wouldst my soul engage who fight to conquer love and rage, stand, till 10,000 years have flown, ill-fated maid, transformed to stone. A Brahmin then, in glory strong, mighty through penance stern and long, shall free thee from thine altered shape, thou from my curse shalt then escape. But when the saint had cursed her so, his breast was burnt with fires of woe, grieved that long effort to restrain his mighty wrath was all in vain. Cursed by the angry sage's power, she stood in stone that selfsame hour. Kandarpa heard the words he said, and quickly from his presence fled. His fall beneath his passion's sway had reft the hermit's mead away. Unconquered yet his secret foes, the humbled saint refused repose. No more shall rage my bosom till, sealed be my lips, my tongue be still. My very breath henceforth I hold until 1,000 years are told. Victorious o'er each erring sense, I'll dry my frame with abstinence, until by penance duly done a Brahman's rank be bought and won. For countless years, as still as death, I taste no food, I draw no breath, and as I toil my frame shall stand unharmed by time's destroying hand. Canto 65. Visvamitra's Triumph. Then from Himalaya's heights of snow, the glorious saint prepared to go, and dwelling in the distant east his penance and his toil increased. 1,000 years his lips he held closed by a vow unparalleled, and other marvels passing thought, unrivaled in the world, he wrought. In all the 1,000 years his frame dry as a log of wood became. By many a cross and check beset, rage had not stormed his bosom yet. With iron will that not could bend, he plied his labor till the end. So when the weary years were o'er, freed from his vow so stern and sore, the hermit, all his penance sped, sate down to eat his meal of bread. Then Indra, clad in Brahmin guise, asked him for food with hungry eyes. The mighty saint, with steadfast soul, to the false Brahmin gave the whole, and when no scrap for him remained, fasting and faint, from speech refrained. His silent vow he would not break, no breath he heaved, no word he spake, then as he checked his breath, behold, around his brow thick smoke clouds rolled, and the three worlds, as if o'erspread with ravening flames, were filled with dread. Then god and saint and bard, convened, and Naga lord and snake and fiend thus to the general father cried, distracted, sad, and terrified. Against the hermit, sore assailed, lure, scathe, and scorn have not availed, proof against rage and treacherous art he keeps his vow with constant heart. Now if his toils assist him not to gain the boon his soul has sought, he through the worlds will ruin send that fixed and moving things shall end. The regions now are dark with doom, no friendly ray relieves the gloom. Each ocean foams with maddened tide, the shrinking hills in fear subside. Trembles the earth with feverous throe the wind, in fitful tempest blows. No cure we see with troubled eyes, and atheist brood on earth may rise. The triple world is wild with care, or spiritless in dull despair. Before that saint the sun is dim, his blessed light eclipsed by him. Now ere the saint resolve to bring destruction on each living thing, let us appease, while yet we may him bright as fire, like fire to slay. Yea, as the fiery flood of fate lays all creation desolate, he o'er the conquered gods may reign. Oh, grant him what he longs to gain. Then all the blessed, by Brahma led, approached the saint and sweetly said, Hail, Brahmin saint! For such thy place, thy vows austere have won our grace. A Brahmin's rank thy penance stern, and ceaseless labor richly earn. I with the gods of storm decree long life, O Brahmin saint, to thee. May peace and joy thy soul possess go, where thou wilt in happiness. Thus by the general sire addressed, joy and high triumph filled his breast. His head in adoration bowed, thus spoke he to the immortal crowd. If I, ye gods, have gained at last both length of days and Brahman caste, grant that the high mysterious name and holy Vedas own my claim, and that the formula to bless the sacrifice, its Lord confess. And let V execute ISH letter 1E60H, who excels in warrior's art and mystic spells, in love of God without a peer, confirm the boon you promise here. With Brahma's son V execute ISH letter 1E60H, best of those who pray with voice repressed, the gods by earnest prayer prevailed, and thus his new-made friend he hailed. Thy title now is sure and good to rights of saintly Brahmanhood. Thus spake the sage. The gods, content, back to their heavenly mansions went. And Visvamitra, pious-souled, among the Brahmin saints enrolled, on Reverend V execute ISH letter 1E60H, oppressed the honors due to holy guest. Successful in his high pursuit, the sage, in penance resolute, walked in his pilgrim wanderings o'er the whole broad land from shore to shore. 'Twas thus the saint, O Raghu's son, his rank among the Brahmins won. Best of all hermits, prince, is he, in him incarnate penance see. Friend of the right, who shrinks from ill, heroic powers attend him still. The Brahmin, versed in ancient lore, thus closed his tale, and said no more to Satan, and Acusich's son cried in delight, well done. Well done. Then Janak, at the tale amazed, spoke thus with suppliant hands upraised. High fate is mine, O sage, I deem, and thanks I owe for bliss supreme, that thou and Raghu's children too have come my sacrifice to view. To look on thee with blessed eyes exalts my soul and purifies. Yea, thus to see thee face to face enriches me with store of grace. Thy holy labors wrought of old, and mighty penance, fully told, Rama and I with great delight have heard, O glorious anchorite. Unrivaled thine ascetic deeds, thy might, O saint, all might exceeds. No thought may scan, no limit bound the virtues that in thee are found. The story of thy wondrous fate my thirsty ears can never sate. The hour of evening rites is near, the sun declines in swift career. At early dawn, O hermit, deign to let me see thy face again. Best of ascetics, pardon bliss do thou thy servant now dismiss. The saint approved, and glad and kind dismissed the king with joyful mind around the sage king. Janak went with priests and kinsmen reverent. Then Visvamitra, honored so by those high-minded, rose to go, and with the princes took his way to seek the lodging where they lay. Canto 66. Janak's speech. With cloudless luster rose the sun. The king, his morning worship done, ordered his heralds to invite the princes and the anchorite. With honor, as the laws decree, the monarch entertained the three. Then to the youths and saintly man Vidha's lord this speech began. O blameless saint, most welcome thou. If I may please thee, tell me how. Speak, mighty lord, whom all revere, tease thine to order, mine to hear. Thus he on mighty thoughts intent, then thus the sage most eloquent. King Dasaratha's sons, this pair of warriors famous everywhere, are come that best of bows to see that lies a treasure stored by thee. This mighty Janak deigned to show that they may look upon the bow, and then, contented, homeward go. Then royal Janak spoke in turn. O best of saints, the story learn why this famed bow, a noble prize, a treasure in my palace lies. A monarch, Devarat by name, who sixth from ancient Nimi came, held it as ruler of the land, a pledge in his successive hand. This bow the mighty Rudra bore at Daksha's 245, sacrifice of yore, when carnage of the immortals stained the rite that Daksha had ordained. Then as the gods sore wounded fled, victorious Rudra mocking said, Because, O gods, ye gave me not when I my rightful portion sought, your dearest parts I will not spare, but with my bow your frames will tear. The sons of heaven, in wild alarm, soft flatteries tried his rage to charm. Then Bhava, lord whom gods adore, grew kind and friendly as before, and every torn and mangled limb was safe and sound restored by him. Thenceforth this bow, the gem of bows that freed the god of gods from foes, stored by our great forefathers lay a treasure and a pride for aye. Once as it chanced I plowed the ground, when sudden, 'neath the share was found an infant springing from the earth, named Sítá from her secret birth. 246. In strength and grace the maiden grew, my cherished daughter, fair to view. I vowed her, of no mortal birth, meet prize for noblest heroes worth. In strength and grace the maiden grew, and many a monarch came to woo. To all the princely suitors it gave, mighty saint, the same reply. I give not thus my daughter, she prize of heroic worth shall be. 247. To Mythala the suitors pressed their power and might to manifest. To all who came with hearts aglow, I offered Siva's wondrous bow. Not one of all the royal band could raise or take the bow in hand. The suitors' puny might I spurned, and back the feeble princes turned. Enraged thereat, the warriors met, with force combined my town beset. Stung to the heart with scorn and shame, with war and threats they madly came, besieged my peaceful walls, and long to Mythala did grievous wrong. There, wasting all, a year they lay, and brought my treasures to decay, filling my soul, O hermit chief, with bitter woe and hopeless grief. At last, by long-wrought penance, won favor with the gods on high, who with my labors well content a fourfold host to aid me sent. Then swift the baffled heroes fled to all the winds discomfited, wrongdoers, with their lords and host, and all their valor's idle boast. This heavenly bow, exceeding bright, these youths shall see, O anchorite. Then if young Rama's hand can string the bow that baffled lord and king, to him I give, as I have sworn, my Sítá, not of woman born. Canto 67. The breaking of the bow. Then spoke again the great recluse. This mighty bow, O king, produce. King Janak at the saint's request this order to his train addressed. Let the great bow be hither borne, which flowery wreaths and scents adorn. Soon as the monarch's words were said, his servants to the city sped, 5,000 youths in number, all of manly strength and stature tall, the ponderous eight-wheeled chest that held the heavenly bow, with toil propelled. At length they brought that iron chest, and thus the godlike king addressed. This best of bows, O Lord, we bring, respected by each chief and king, and place it for these youths to see, if, sovereign, such thy pleasure be. With suppliant palm to palm applied King Janak to the strangers cried. This gem of bows, O Brahmin sage, our race has prized from age to age, too strong for those who yet have reigned, though great in might each nerve they strained. Titan and fiend its strength defies, god, spirit, minstrel of the skies. And bard above and snake below are baffled by this glorious bow. Then how may human prowess hope, with such a bow as this to cope? What man with valor's choicest gift this bow can draw, or string, or lift? Yet let the princes, holy seer, behold it, it is present here. Then spoke the hermit pious-souled, Rama, dear son, the bow behold. Then Rama at his word unclosed the chest wherein its might reposed, thus crying, as he viewed it, Lo! I lay mine hand upon the bow, may happy luck my hope attend its heavenly strength to lift or bend. Good luck be thine, the hermit cried, assay the task, the king replied. Then Raghu's son, as if in sport, before the thousands of the court, the weapon by the middle raised that all the crowd in wonder gazed. With steady arm the string he drew, till burst the mighty bow in two. As snapped the bow, an awful clang, loud as the shriek of tempests, rang. The earth, affrighted, shook amain as when a hill is rent in twain. Then, senseless at the fearful sound, the people fell upon the ground, none save the king, the princely pair, and the great saint the shock could bear. When woke to sense the stricken train, and Janak's soul was calm again with suppliant hands and reverent head, these words most eloquent he said. O saint, Prince Rama stands alone, his peerless might he well has shown. A marvel has the hero wrought beyond belief, surpassing thought. My child, to royal Rama wed, new glory on our line will shed, and true my promise will remain that hero's worth the bride should gain. Dearer to me than light and life, my Sítá shall be Rama's wife. If thou, O Brahman, leave concede, my counselors, with eager speed borne in their flying cars, to fair Ayodhyá's town the news shall bear, with courteous message to entreat the king to grace my royal seat. This to the monarch shall they tell, the bride is his who won her well, and his 2 sons are resting here protected by the holy seer. So, at his pleasure, let them lead the sovereign to my town with speed. The hermit to his prayer inclined, and Janak, lord of virtuous mind, with charges, to Ayodhyá sent his ministers, and forth they went. Canto 68. The envoy's speech. 3 nights upon the road, they passed to rest the steeds that bore them fast, and reached Ayodhyá's town at last. Then straight at Dasaratha's call they stood within the royal hall, where, like a god, inspiring awe, the venerable king they saw. With suppliant palm to palm applied, and all their terror laid aside, they spoke to him upon the throne with modest words, in gentle tone. Janak, Vidha's king, O sire, has sent us hither to inquire the health of thee his friend most dear, of all thy priests and every peer. Next Cusick's son consenting, thus King Janak speaks, dread liege by us. I made a promise and decree that valor's prize my child should be. Kings, worthless found in worth's assay, with mien dejected turned away. Thy sons, by Visvamitra led, unurged, my city visited, and peerless in their might have gained my daughter, as my vow ordained. Full in a vast assembly's view, thy hero Rama broke into the gem of bows, of monstrous size, that came a treasure from the skies. Ordained the prize of heroes' might, Sítá my child is his by right. Fain would I keep my promise made, if thou, O king, approve and aid. Come to my town thy son to see, bring holy guide and priest with thee. O Lord of kings, my suit allow, and let me keep my promised vow. So joying for thy children's sake their triumph too shalt thou partake, with Visvamitra's high consent. Such words with friendship eloquent spoke Janak, fair Vidha's king, by Satananda's counseling. The envoys thus the king addressed, and mighty joy his heart possessed. To Vamedva quick he cried, via execute ish letter 160h, and his lords beside. Lak shm a letter 147, and he, my princely boy who fills Kausalya's soul with joy, by Visvamitra guarded well among the good Vidhans dwell. Their ruler Janak, prompt to own the peerless might my child has shown, to him would knit in holy ties his daughter, valor's lovely prize. If Janak's plan seem good to you, come, speed we to his city too, nor let occasion idly by. He ceased. There came a glad reply from priest and mighty saint, and all the counselors who thronged the hall. Then cried the king with joyous heart, tomorrow let us all depart. That night the envoys entertained with honor, and all care remained. Canto 69. Dasaratha's visit. Soon as the shades of night had fled, thus to the wise Sumantra said the happy king, while priest and peer, each in his place, were standing near. Let all my treasurers today, set foremost in the long array, with gold and precious gems supplied in bounteous store, together ride. And send you out a mighty force, foot, chariot, elephant, and horse. Besides, let many a car of state, and noblest steeds, my will await. Via execute ish letter 160h, Vamedva say, and mark a letter 147 dey a s reverend age, Javali, Kasyap's godlike seed, and wise Kaikeyí shall lead. Thy care, Sumantra, let it be to yoke a chariot now for me, that so we part without delay. These envoys hasten me away. So fared he forth. That host with speed quadruple, as the king decreed, with priests to head the bright array, followed the monarch on his way. 4 days they traveled on the road, and eve Vidha's kingdom showed. Janak had left his royal seat the venerable king to greet, and noblest with these words addressed that noblest lord, his happy guest. Hail, best of kings! A blessed fate has led thee, monarch, to my state. Thy sons, supreme in high emprise, will gladden now their father's eyes. And high my fate, that hither leads via execute ish letter 160h, bright with holy deeds, girt with these sages far renowned, like Indra with the gods around. Joy, joy, for vanquished are my foes, joy. For my house in glory grows, with Raghu's noblest sons allied, supreme in strength and valor's pride. Tomorrow with its early light, will shine on my completed right. Then, sanctioned by the saints and thee, the marriage of thy Rama see. Then Dasaratha, best of those whose speech in graceful order flows, with gathered saints on every side, thus to the Lord of earth replied. A truth is this I long have known, a favor is the giver's own. What thou shalt bid, O good and true, we, as our power permits, will do. That answer of the truthful Lord, with virtuous worth and honor stored, Janak, Vidha's noble king, heard gladly, greatly marveling. With bosoms filled with pleasure met long-parted saint and anchoret, and linked in friendship's tie, they spent the peaceful night in great content. Rama and L a K shm a letter 1e47 thither sped, by sainted Visvamitra led, and bent in filial love to greet their father, and embraced his feet. The aged king, rejoiced to hear and see again his children dear, honored by Janak's thoughtful care, with great enjoyment rested there. King Janak, with attentive heed, consulted first his daughter's need, and ordered all to speed the right, then rested also for the night. Canto 70. The maidens sought. Then with the morn's returning sun, King Janak, when his rites were done, skilled all the charms of speech to know, spoke to wise Satananda so. My brother, lord of glorious fame, my younger, Cusidwaj by name, whose virtuous life has won renown, has settled in a lovely town, Sankasya, decked with grace divine, whose glories bright as pushpaks shine, while Ikshumati rolls her wave her lofty ramparts foot to lave. Him, holy priest, I long to see. The guardian of my right is he, that my dear brother may not miss a share of mine expected bliss. Thus in the presence of the priest, the royal Janak spoke, and ceased. Then came his henchmen, prompt and brave, to whom his charge the monarch gave. Soon as they heard his will, in haste with fleetest steeds away they raced, to lead with them that lord of kings, as Indra's call Lord Vish letter 1e47u brings. Sankasya's walls they duly gained, and audience of the king obtained. To him they told the news they brought of marvels past, and Janak's thought. Soon as the king the story knew from those good envoys swift and true to Janak's wish he gave assent, and swift to Mithila he went. He paid to Janak reverence due, and holy Satananda too, then sate him on a glorious seat for kings or gods celestial meet. Soon as the brothers, noble pair peerless in might, were seated there, they gave the wise Sudaman, best of counselors, their high behest. Go, noble counselor, they cried, and hither to our presence guide Ikshvaku's son, Ayodhya's lord, invincible by foeman's sword, with both his sons, each holy seer, and every minister and peer. Sudaman to the palace flew, and saw the mighty king who threw splendor on Raghu's splendid race, then bowed his head with seemly grace. O king, whose hand Ayodhya sways, my lord, whom Mithila obeys, yearns with desire, if thou agree, thee with thy guide and priest to see. Soon as the counselor had ceased, the king, with saint and peer and priest, sought, speeding through the palace gate, the hall where Janak held his state. There with his nobles round him spread, thus to Vide his lord be said. Thou knowest, king, whose aid divine protects Ikshvaku's royal line. In every need, whate'er befall, the saint Vish execute ish letter 1e60 h speaks for all. If Visvamitra so allow, and all the saints around me now, the sage will speak at my desire, as order and the truth require. Soon as the king his lips had stilled, up rose Vish execute ish letter 1e60 h, a speaker skilled. And to Vidha, Lord began in flowing words that holy man. From viewless nature Brahma rose, no change, no end, no waste he knows. A son had he Marichi styled, and Kasyap was Marich's child. From him Vivasvat sprang, from him Manu whose fame shall ne'er be dim. Manu, who life to mortals gave, begot Ikshvaku good and brave. First of Ayodhya's kings was he, pride of her famous dynasty. From him the glorious Kakshi sprang, whose fame through all the regions rang. Rival of Kakshi's ancient fame, his heir, the great Vikakshi, came. His son was Vish letter 1e47, a lord of might. His a letter 1e47y, a strong to fight. His son was Prithu, glorious name. From him the good Trisanku came. He left a son renowned afar, known by the name of Dantumar. His son, who drove the mighty car, was Yuvanasva, feared in war. He passed away. Him followed then his son Mantata, king of men. His son was blessed in high emprise, Suzandhi, fortunate and wise. Two noble sons had he, to wit Druvasandhi and Prasenajit. Burrit was Druvasand his son, and glorious fame that monarch won. The warrior Asit he begot. Asit had warfare fierce and hot, with rival kings in many a spot. Hayhyas, Talajanghas styled, and Sasavindus, strong and wild. Long time he strove, but forced to yield fled from his kingdom and the field. With his two wives away he fled where high Himalaya lifts his head, and all his wealth and glory past, he paid the dues of fate at last. The wives he left had both conceived, so is the ancient tale believed. One, of her rival's hopes afraid fell poison in her viands laid. It chanced that Chayavan, Breeg's child, had wandered to that pathless wild, and their Himalaya's lovely height detained him with a strange delight. There came the other widowed queen, with lotus eyes and beauteous mien, longing a noble son to bear, and wooed the saint with earnest prayer. When thus Kailindi, 248, fairest dame, with reverent supplication came, to her the holy sage replied, "Born with the poison from thy side, O happy queen, shall spring ere long an infant fortunate and strong. Then weep no more, and check thy sighs, sweet lady of the lotus eyes." The queen, who loved her perished lord for meet reply, the saint adored, and of her husband long bereaved, she bore a son by him conceived. Because her rival mixed the bane to render her conception vain, and fruit unripened to destroy, Sagar, 249, she called her darling boy. To Sagar a Samanj was heir, bright Ansuman his consort bare. Ansuman's son, Dilipa famed, begot a son Bajarath named. From him the great Kekutstha rose, from him came Raghu, feared by foes, of him sprang Purushadak bold, fierce hero of gigantic mold. Kalmashapada's name he bore, because his feet were spotted o'er. 250, from him came Execute a NK a letter 1E47, and from him Sudarsan, fair in face and limb. From beautiful Sudarsan came Prince a GNIV a R letter 1E47, bright as flame. His son was Sairaga, for speed unmatched, and Maru was his seed. Prasasruka was Maru's child, his son was Ambarisha styled. Nahush was Ambarisha's heir, the mighty lord of regions fair. Nahush begot Yayati, he Nabhag of happy destiny. Son of Nabhag was Aja. His, the glorious Dasaratha is, whose noble children boast to be Rama and Lak, Shm a letter 1E47, whom we see. Thus do those kings of purest race their lineage from Ikshvaku trace. Their hero lives the right maintained. Their lips with falsehood ne'er were stained. In Rama S, and in Lak, Shm, a letter 1E47's name thy daughters as their wives I claim, so shall in equal bands be tied each peerless youth with peerless bride. Canto 71. Janak's pedigree. Then to the saints supremely wise King Janak spoke in suppliant guise. Deign, hermit, with attentive ear, MV race's origin to hear. When kings a daughter's hand bestow, tease write their line and fame to show. There was a king whose deeds and worth spread wide his name through heaven and earth, Nimi, most virtuous e'en from youth, the best of all who loved the truth. His son and heir was Mithai, and his Janak, first who ruled this land. He left a son Udavasu, blessed with all virtues, good and true. His son was Nandavardhan, dear for pious heart and worth sincere. His son Sukatu, hero brave, to Devarat existence gave. King Devarat, a royal sage for virtue, glory of the age, begot Vrihadratha, and he begot, his worthy heir to be, the splendid hero Mahabir who long in glory governed here. His son was Sudriti, a youth firm in his purpose, brave in sooth. His son was Dhris letter 1E60 a Ketu, blessed with pious will and holy breast. The fame of royal saint he won. Haryasva was his princely son. Haryasva's son was Maru, who begot Pratantak, wise and true. Next Kirtaratha held the throne, his son, for gentle virtues known. Then followed Devamatha, then Vibhud, Mahindrak, kings of men. Mahindrak's son, of boundless might, was Kirtarat, who loved the right. He passed away, a sainted king, and Meherma following to SW a R letter 1E47, a Roma left the state. Then Hrasvarma, good and great, succeeded, and to him a pair of sons his royal consort bare. Elder of these I boast to be, brave Kusidwaj is next to me. 251, me then, the elder of the twain, my sire anointed here to reign. He bade me tend my brother well, then to the forest went to dwell. He sought the heavens, and I sustained the burden as by law ordained, and noble Kusidwaj, the peer of gods, I ever held most dear. Then came Sankasya's mighty lord, Sudhinva, threatening siege and sword, and bade me swift on him bestow Siva's incomparable bow and Sítá of the lotus eyes, but I refused each peerless prize. Then host to host, we met the foes, and fierce the din of battle rose. Sudhinva, foremost of his band, fell smitten by my single hand. When thus Sankasya's lord was slain, I sanctified, as laws ordain my brother in his stead to reign, Thus are we brothers, Saint Most High the younger he, the elder I. Now, mighty sage, my spirit joys to give these maidens to the boys. Let Sítá be to Ráma tied, and Urmila be Lakshman, a letter 1E47's bride. First give, O king, the gift of cows, as dowry of each royal spouse. Due offerings to the spirits pay, and solemnize the wedding day. The moon tonight, O royal sage, in Maghas, 252 house takes harborage on the third night his rays benign in second Falguni, 253, will shine, be that the day, with prosperous fate, the nuptial rites to celebrate. Canto 72. The gift of kine. When royal Janak's words were done, joined with V a execute, ish letter 1E60 h accusic's son, the mighty sage began his speech. No mind may soar, no thought can reach the glories of Ikshvaku's line, or, great Vidha's king, of thine, none in the whole wide world may vie with them in fame and honors high. Well matched, I ween, in holy bands, these peerless pairs will join their hands. But hear me as I speak once more. Thy brother, skilled in duty's lore, has at his home a royal pair of daughters most divinely fair. I for the hands of these sweet two for Burrit and Satrugna sue, both princes of heroic mold, wise, fair of form, and lofty souled. All Dasaratha's sons, I ween, own each young grace of form and mien. Brave as the gods are they, nor yield to the great lords the worlds who shield. By these, good prince of merits high, Ikshvaku's house with thine ally. The suit the holy sage preferred, with willing ear the monarch heard, via execute ish letter 1E60, h lips the council praised. Then spake the king with hands upraised. Now blessed indeed my race I deem, which your high will, O saints supreme, with Dasaratha's house unites in bonds of love and marriage rites. So be it done. My nieces twain let Burrit and Satrugna gain, and the four youths the self-same day 4 maiden hands in theirs shall lay. No day so lucky may compare, for marriage, so the wise declare, with the last day of Falguni ruled by the genial deity. Then with raised hands and reverence due to those arch-saints he spoke anew. I am your pupil, ever true, to me high favor have ye shown, come, sit ye on my royal throne, for Dasaratha rules these towers and as Ayodhyá now is ours. Do with your own whate'er ye choose, your lordship here will none refuse. He spoke, and to Vidha, king thus Dasaratha, answering, boundless your virtues, lords, who sway the realms of Mithila obey. With honoring care you entertain both holy sage and royal train. Now to my house my steps I bend, may blessings still on you at end, due offerings to the shades to pay. Thus spoke the king, and turned away, to Janak first he bade adieu, then followed fast those holy two. The monarch reached his palace, where the rites were paid with solemn care. When the next sun began to shine he rose, and made his gift of kine. 100,000 cows, prepared for each young prince the Brahmins shared. Each had her horns adorned with gold, and duly was the number told, 400,000 perfect tale, each brought a calf, each filled a pail. And when that glorious task was o'er, the monarch with his children 4, showed like the Lord of life divine when the world's guardians round him shine. Canto 73. The nuptials. On that same day that saw the king his gift of kine distributing, the lord of Kaikeyí's son, by name Ayodhyá, Burrit's uncle, came, asked of the monarch's health, and then addressed the reverend king of men. The lord of Kaikeyí's realm by me sends greeting, noble king, to thee, asks if the friends thy prayers would bless uninterrupted health possess. Right anxious, mighty king, is he my sister's princely boy to see. For this I sought Ayodhyá fair the message of my sire to bear. There learning, O my liege, that thou with sons and noble kinsmen now wast resting here, I sought the place longing to see my nephew's face. The king with kind observance cheered his friend by tender ties endeared, and every choicest honor pressed upon his honorable guest. That night with all his children spent, at morn King Dasaratha went, behind V a execute ish letter 1E60 and the rest, to the fair ground for rites addressed. Then when the lucky hour was nigh called victory, of omen high came Rama, after vow and prayer for nuptial bliss and fortune fair, with the 3 youths in bright attire, and stood beside his royal sire. To Janak then V a execute ish letter 1E60 a sped, and to Vidha's monarch said, O king, Ayodhya's ruler now has breathed the prayer and vowed the vow, and with his sons expecting stands the giver of the maiden's hands. The giver and the taker both must ratify a mutual oath. Perform the part for which we wait, and rites of marriage celebrate. Skilled in the laws which scriptures teach, he answered thus via execute ish letter 160 has speech. O saint, what warder bars the gate? Whose bidding can the king await? In one's own house what doubt is shown? This kingdom, sage, is all thine own. E'en now the maidens may be found within the sacrificial ground. Each vow is vowed and prayed each prayer, and they, like fire, are shining there. Here by the shrine my place I took expecting thee with eager look, no bar the nuptial rites should stay. What cause have we for more delay? When Janak's speech the monarch heard, to sons and saints he gave the word, and set them in the holy ring, then to via execute ish letter 160 spoke the king of Mithila. O mighty sage, now let this task thy care engage, and lend thine aid and counsel wise the nuptial rites to solemnize. The saint via execute ish letter 160 gave assent, and quickly to the task he went, with Visvamitra, nothing loth, and Satananda aiding both. Then, as the rules prescribe, they made an altar in the midst, and laid fresh wreaths of fragrant flowers thereon. The golden ladles round it shone, and many a vase, which branches hid fixed in the perforated lid, and sprays and cups, and censers there stood filled with incense rich and rare, shell bowls, and spoons, and salvers dressed with gifts that greet the honored guest. Piles of parched rice some dishes bore, others with corn prepared ran o'er, and holy grass was duly spread in equal lengths, while prayers were said. Next chief of saints, via execute ish letter 160 came, and laid the offering in the flame. Then by the hand King Janak drew his Sítá, beautiful to view, and placed her, bright in rich attire, Rama to face, before the fire, thus speaking to the royal boy who filled Kausalya's heart with joy. Here Sítá stands, my daughter fair, the duties of thy life to share. Take from her father, take thy bride, join hand to hand, and bliss betide. A faithful wife, most blessed is she, and as thy shade will follow thee. Thus as he spoke the monarch threw o'er her young limbs the holy dew, while gods and saints were heard to swell the joyous cry, "'Tis well! 'Tis well!" His daughter Sítá thus bestowed, o'er whom the sacred drops had flowed. King Janak's heart with rapture glowed. Then to Prince Shm a letter 147 thus he cried, "Take Urmila thine offered bride, and clasp her hand within thine own air, yet the lucky hour be flown." Then to Prince Bharat thus cried he, "Come, take the hand of Mandevi." Then to Satrugna, "In thy grasp the hand of Esrudakiyati clasp." Now, Raghu's sons, may all of you be gentle to your wives and true. Keep well the vows you make today, nor let occasion slip away. King Janak's word the youths obeyed, the maidens, hands in theirs they laid. Then with their brides the princes went with ordered steps, and reverent round both the fire and Janak, round the sages and the sacred ground. A flowery flood of lucid dyes in rain descended from the skies, while with celestial voices blent sweet strains from many an instrument, and the nymphs danced in joyous throng responsive to the minstrel's song. Such signs of exultation they saw on the prince's wedding day. Still rang the heavenly music sound when Raghu's sons thrice circled round the fire, each one with reverent head, and homeward then their brides they led. They to the sumptuous palace hied that Janak's care had seen supplied. The monarch girt with saint and peer, still fondly gazing followed near. Canto 74. Rama with the axe, 254. Soon as the night had reached its close, the hermit Visvamitra rose. To both the kings he bade adieu, and to the northern hill withdrew. Ayodhya's lord of high renown received farewell, and sought his town. Then as each daughter left her bower, King Janak gave a splendid dower, rugs, precious silks, a warrior force, cars, elephants, and foot and horse, divine to see and well arrayed, and many a skillful tiring maid, and many a young and trusty slave the father of the ladies gave. Silver and coral, gold and pearls he gave to his beloved girls. These precious gifts the king bestowed, and sped his guest upon his road. The lord of Mithila's sweet town rode to his court and lighted down. Ayodhya's monarch, glad and gay, led by the seers pursued his way with his dear sons of lofty mind. The royal army marched behind. As on he fared the voice, he heard around of many a dismal bird, and every beast in wild affright began to hurry to the right. The monarch to via execute, ish letter 160h a cried, what strange misfortune will betide? Why do the beasts in terror fly, and birds of evil omen cry? What is it shakes my heart with dread? Why is my soul disquieted? Soon as he heard, the mighty saint thus answered Dasaratha's plaint in sweetest tone. Now, monarch, mark, and learn from me the meaning dark. The voices of the birds of air great peril to the host declare. The moving beasts the dread allay, so drive thy whelming fear away. As he and Dasaratha spoke, a tempest from the welkin broke, that shook the spacious earth amain, and hurled high trees upon the plain. The sun grew dark with murky cloud, and o'er the skies was cast a shroud, while o'er the army, faint with dread, a veil of dust and ashes spread. King, princes, saints their sense retained, fear stupefied the rest remained. At length, their wits returning, all beneath the gloom and ashy pall saw Jamadagni's son with dread, his long hair twisted round his head, who, sprung from Brieg, loved to beat the proudest kings beneath his feet. Firm as Kailas's hill he showed, fierce as the fire of doom he glowed. His axe upon his shoulder lay, his bow was ready for the fray, with thirsty arrows wont to fly like lightnings from the angry sky. A long, keen arrow forth he drew, invincible like those which flew from Siva's ever-conquering bow, and Tripura in death laid low. When his wild form, that struck with awe fearful as ravening flame, they saw via execute ish letter 160h, and the saints whose care was sacrifice and muttered prayer, drew close together, each to each, and questioned thus with bated speech. Indignant at his father's fate, will he on warriors vent his hate, the slayers of his father slay, and sweep the loathed race away. But when of old, his fury raged seas of their blood his wrath assuaged, so doubtless now, he has not planned to slay all warriors in the land. Then with a gift the saints drew near to Brieg's son, whose look was fear, and Rama. Rama! Soft they cried. The gift he took, no word replied. Then Brieg's son his silence broke, and thus to Rama spoke. Canto 75. The Parl. Heroic Rama, men proclaim the marvels of thy matchless fame, and I from loud-voiced rumor know the exploit of the broken bow, yea, bent and broken, mighty chief, a feat most wondrous, past belief. Stirred by thy fame thy face I sought, a peerless bow I too have brought. This mighty weapon, strong and dire, great Jamadagni owned, my sire. Draw with its shaft my father's bow, and thus thy might, O Rama, show. This proof of prowess let me see, the weapon bent and drawn by thee, then single fight our strength shall try, and this shall raise thy glory high. King Dasaratha heard with dread the boastful speech, and thus he said, raising his hands in suppliant guise, with pallid cheek and timid eyes. Forgetful of the bloody feud ascetic toils hast thou pursued, then, Brahman, let thy children be untroubled and from danger free. Sprung of the race of Brieg, who read holy lore, to vows most true, thou swearest to the thousand-eyed, and thy fierce axe was cast aside. Thou turnedst to thy rights away, leaving the earth to Kasyap's sway, and wentest far a grove to seek beneath Mahendra's 255 mountain peak. Now, mighty hermit, art thou here to slay us all with doom severe? For if alone my Rama fall, we share his fate and perish all. As thus the aged sire complained, the mighty chief no answer deigned. To Rama only thus he cried, two bows, the heavenly artist's pride, celestial, peerless, vast, and strong, by all the worlds were honored long. One to the three-eyed god, 256, was given, by glory to the conflict driven, thus armed fierce Tripura he slew, and then by the twas burst in two. The second bow, which few may brave, the highest gods to vish letter 1e47 you gave. This bow I hold, before it fall the foeman's fenced tower and wall. Then prayed the gods the sire most high by some unerring proof to try, were praise for might Lord vish letter 1e47 us do, or his whose neck is stained with blue. 257, the mighty sire their wishes knew, and he whose lips are ever true caused the two gods to meet as foes. Then fierce the rage of battle rose, bristled in dread each starting hair, as Siva strove with vish letter 1e47 there. But vish letter 1e47, you raised his voice amen. And Siva's bowstring twanged in vain. Its master of the three bright eyes stood fixed in fury and surprise. Then all the dwellers in the sky, minstrel and saint and god, drew nigh, and prayed them that the strife might cease, and the great rivals met in peace. 'Twas seen how Siva's bow has failed unnerved, when vish letter 1e47 us might assailed, and gods and heavenly sages thence to Vishnu gave preeminence. Then glorious Siva in his rage gave it to Devarat the sage, who ruled Vidha's fertile land, to pass it down from hand to hand. But this my bow, whose shafts smite down the foeman's fence tower and town, to great Richika vish letter 1e47 you lent to be a pledge and ornament. Then Jamadagni, Brahman dread, my sire, the bow inherited. But Arjun stooped to treachery vile and slew my noble sire by guile, whose penance awful strength had gained, whose hand the God-given bow retained. I heard indignant how he fell by mournful fate, too sad to tell. My vengeful fury, since that time scourges all warriors for the crime. As generations spring to life, I wore them down in endless strife. All earth I brought beneath my sway, and gave it for his meed and pay to holy Kasyap, when of yore the rites performed by him were o'er. Then to Mahendra's hill I turned strong in the strength that penance earned, and twalled upon his lofty head by gods immortal visited. The breaking of the bow I knew from startled gods conversing through the airy regions of thy deed, and hither came with swiftest speed. Now for thy warrior's honor's sake, this best of bows, O Rama, take. This, owned by vish letter 1e47 us self of old, my sire and grandsire loved to hold. Drawn to its head upon the string, one town-destroying arrow bring if this thou can, O hero, I in single fight thy strength will try. Canto 76. Debarred from heaven. The haughty challenge, undeterred the son of Dasaratha heard, and cried, while reverence for his sire checked the full torrent of his ire. Before this day have I been told the deed that stained thy hands of old. But pity bids my soul forget, thy father, murdered, claimed the debt. My strength, O chief, thou deemest slight, too feeble for a warrior's might. Now will I show thy wondering eyes the prowess which they dare despise. He hastened then, with graceful ease, that mighty bow and shaft to seize. His hand the weapon strung and swayed, the arrow on the string was laid. Then Jamadagni's son he eyed, and thus in words of fury cried, Thou art a Brahmin, still to be most highly honored, chief by me. For Visvamitra's sake beside, shall reverence due be ne'er denied. Though mine the power, I would not send a dart at thee thy life to end. But thy great power to wander free, which penance rites have won for thee, or glorious worlds from thee to rest, is the firm purpose of my breast. And vish letter 1e47 us dart, which now I strain can ne'er be shot to fall in vain. It strikes the mighty, and it stuns the madness of the haughty ones. Then gods, and saints and heavenly choir preceded by the general sire, met in the air and gazed below on Rama with that wondrous bow. Nymph, minstrel, angel, all were there, snake god and spirit of the air giant and bard and griffin met, their eyes upon the marvel set. In senseless hush the world was chained, while Rama's hand the bow retained, and Jamadagni's son amazed and powerless on the hero gazed. Then when his swelling heart had shrunk, and his proud strength in torpor sunk, scarce his voice ventured, low and weak, to Rama lotuside to speak. When long ago I gave away the whole broad land to Kasyap's sway, he charged me never to remain within the limits of his reign. Obedient to my guide's behest on earth by night, I never rest. My choice is made, I will not dim mine honor and be false to him. So, son of Raghu, leave me still the power to wander where I will, and swifter than the thought my flight shall place me on Mahendra's height. My mansions of eternal joy, by penance won, thou mayst destroy, my path to these thy shaft may stay. Now to the work. No more delay. I know thee, Lord of gods, I know thy changeless might laid mad who low. All other hands would surely fail to bend this bow. All hail! All hail! See! All the gods have left the skies to bend on thee their eager eyes, with whose achievements none compete, whose arm in war no god can meet. No shame is mine, I ween, for thou, Lord of the worlds, hast dimmed my brow. Now, pious Rama, 'Tis thy part to shoot afar that glorious dart. I, when the fatal shaft is shot, will seek that hill and tarry not." He ceased. The wondrous arrow flew, and Jamadagni's offspring knew those glorious worlds to him were barred, once gained by penance long and hard. Then straight the airy quarters cleared, and the mid-regions bright appeared, while gods and saints unnumbered praised Rama, the mighty bow who raised. And Jamadagni's son, Orad, extolled his name with highest laud, with reverent steps around him strode, then hastened on his airy road. Far from the sight of all he fled, and rested on Mahendra's head. Canto 77. Bharat's departure. Then Rama, with a cheerful mind the bow to Ru, letter 1E47's hand resigned. Due reverence to the saints he paid, and thus addressed his sire dismayed. "As Brig's son is far from view, now let the host its march pursue, and to Ayodhya's town proceed in fourfold bands, with thee to lead." King Dasaratha thus addressed, his lips to Rama's forehead pressed, and held him to his aged breast. Rejoiced in sooth was he to know that Brig's son had parted so, and hailed a second life begun for him and his victorious son. He urged the host to speed renewed, and soon Ayodhya's gates he viewed. High o'er the roof's gay pennons played, tabor and drum loud music made, fresh water cooled the royal road, and flowers in bright profusion glowed. Glad crowds with garlands thronged the ways, rejoicing on their king to gaze, and all the town was bright and gay, exulting in the festive day. People and Brahmins flocked to meet their monarch ere he gained the street. The glorious king amid the throng rode with his glorious sons along, and passed within his dear abode that like Himalaya's mountain showed. And there Kausalya, noble queen, Sumitra with her lovely mien, Kaikeyí of the dainty waist, and other dames his bowers who graced, stood in the palace side by side and welcomed home each youthful bride. Fair Sítá, lofty fated dame Urmila of the glorious fame, and Kusidwad's children fair, with joyous greeting and with prayer, as all in linen robes arrayed with offerings at the altars prayed. Due reverence paid to God above, each princess gave her soul to love, and hidden in her inmost bower passed with her lord each blissful hour. The royal youths of spirit high, with whom in valor none could vie, lived each within his palace bounds, bright as Kuvera's pleasure grounds, with riches, troops of faithful friends, and bliss that wedded life attends. Brave princes trained in warlike skill, and duteous to their father's will. At length the monarch called one morn Prince Bharat, of Kaikeyí born, and cried, "My son, within our gates Lord Ayodhya thine uncle waits. The son of Kaikeyí's king is he, and came, my child, to summon thee." Then Bharat for the road prepared, and with Satrugna forth he fared. First to his sire he bade adieu, brave Rama, and his mothers too. Lord Ayodhya with joyful pride went forth, the brothers by his side, and reached the city where he dwelt, and mighty joy his father felt. Rama and Lakshman, a letter 1E47 honored still their godlike sire, with duteous will. Two constant guides for Rama stood, his father's wish, the people's good. Attentive to the general weal, he thought and wrought to please and heal. His mother's too he strove to please with love and sonly courtesies. At every time, in every spot, his holy guides he ne'er forgot. So for his virtues kind and true dearer and dearer Rama grew to Dasaratha, Brahmins, all in town and country, great and small. And Rama by his darling's side saw many a blissful season glide, lodged in her soul, each thought on her, lover and friend and worshipper. He loved her for his father's voice had given her, and approved the choice. He loved her for each charm she wore, and her sweet virtues more and more. So he her lord and second life dwelt in the bosom of his wife, in double form, that, e'en apart each heart could commune free with heart. Still grew that child of Janak's race, more goddess fair in form and face, the loveliest wife that e'er was seen in mortal mold, sweet beauty's queen. Then shone the sun Kausalya bore, with this bright dame allied, like Vish letter 1E47 you whom the gods adore, with Lakshmi by his side. Book 2. Canto 1. The heir apparent. So Bharat to his grandsire when obedient to the message sent, and for his fond companion chose Satrugna slayer of his foes. 258. There Bharat for a time remained with love and honor entertained, King Isvapati's constant care, beloved as a son and heir. Yet ever, as they lived at ease, while all around combined to please, the aged sire they left behind was present to each hero's mind. Nor could the king's fond memory stray from his brave children far away, dear Burrit and Satrugna dear, each VARU letter 1E47S match or Indra's peer. To all the princes, young and brave, his soul with fond affection clave, around his loving heart they clung like arms from his own body sprung. 259, but best and noblest of the four, good as the God whom all adore, Lord of all virtues, undefiled, his darling was his eldest child. For he was beautiful and strong, from envy free, the foe of wrong with all his father's virtues blessed, and peerless in the world confessed. With placid soul he softly spoke, no harsh reply could taunts provoke. He ever loved the good and sage, revered for virtue and for age, and when his martial tasks were o'er sate listening to their peaceful lore. Wise, modest, pure, he honored eld, his lips from lying tales withheld, due reverence to the Brahmins gave, and ruled each passion like a slave. Most tender, prompt at duty's call, loved by all men he loved them all. Proud of the duties of his race, with spirit meet for warrior's place. He strove to win by glorious deed, throned with the gods, a priceless meed. With him in speech and quick reply Vrihaspati might hardly vie, but never would his accents flow for evil or for empty show. In art and science duly trained, his student vow he well maintained. He learnt the lore for princes fit, the Vedas and their holy writ, and with his well-drawn bow at last his mighty father's fame surpassed. Of birth exalted, truthful, just with vigorous hand, with noble trust, well taught by aged twice-born men who gain and right could clearly ken, full well the claims and bounds he knew of duty, gain, and pleasure too, of memory keen, of ready tact, in civil business prompt to act. Reserved, his features ne'er disclosed what counsel in his heart reposed. All idle rage and mirth controlled, he knew the times to give and hold firm in his faith of steadfast will. He sought no wrong, he spoke no ill, not rashly swift, not idly slow, his faults and others keen to know. Each merit, by his subtle sense, he matched with proper recompense. He knew the means that wealth provide, and with keen eye expense could guide. Wild elephants could he reclaim, and mettled steeds could mount and tame. No arm like his the bow could wield, or drive the chariot to the field. Skilled to attack, to deal the blow, or lead a host against the foe. Yea, e'en infuriate gods would fear to meet his arm in full career. As the great sun in noontide blaze is glorious with his world of rays, so Rama with these virtues shone which all men loved to gaze upon. The aged monarch fain would rest, and said within his weary breast, "Oh that I might, while living yet, my Rama o'er the kingdom set. And see, before my course be run, the hallowed drops anoint my son, see all this spacious land obey from side to side, my firstborn's sway, and then my life and joy complete obtain in heaven a blissful seat." In him the monarch saw combine the fairest form, the noblest mind, and counseled how his son might share the throne with him as regent heir. For fearful signs in earth and sky, and weakness warned him death was nigh. But Rama to the world endeared by every grace his bosom cheered, the moon of every eye, whose ray drove all his grief and fear away. So duty urged that hour to seize, himself, his realm to bless and please. From town and country, far and near he summoned people, prince and peer. To each he gave a meet abode, and honored all and gifts bestowed. Then, splendid in his king's attire, he viewed them, as the general sire, in glory of a god arrayed, looks on the creatures he has made. But Kaikeyí's king he called not then for haste, nor Janak, lord of men, for after to each royal friend the joyful tidings he would send. Mid crowds from distant countries met the king upon his throne was set. Then honored by the people, all the rulers thronged into the hall. On thrones assigned, each king in place looked silent on the monarch's face. Then girt by lords of high renown and throngs from hamlet, and from town he showed in regal pride, as, honored by the radiant band of blessed gods that round him stand, Lord Indra, thousand-eyed. Canto 2. The People's Speech. Then to the full assembly bowed the monarch, and addressed the crowd with gracious speech, in accents loud as heavenly drum or thundercloud. Needs not to you, who know declare how ever with paternal care my fathers of Ikshvaku's line, have ruled the realm which now is mine. I too have taught my feet to tread the pathway of the mighty dead, and with fond care that never slept have, as I could, my people kept. So toiling still, and ne'er remiss for all my people's weal and bliss, beneath the white umbrellas, 260 shade. Old age is come and strength decayed. Thousands of years have o'er me flown, and generations round me grown and passed away. I crave at length repose, and ease for broken strength. Feeble and worn I scarce can bear the ruler's toil, the judge's care, with royal dignity, a weight that tries the young and temperate. I long to rest, my labor done, and in my place to set my son, if to the twice-born gathered here my counsel wise and good appear. For greater gifts than mine adorn Rama my son, my eldest born. Like Indra brave, before him fall the foeman's cities, tower and wall. Him prince of men for power and might, the best maintainer of the right, fair as the moon when nothing bars his glory close to Pushia's stars. Him with tomorrow's light, I fain would throne the consort of my reign. A worthy lord for you, I ween, marked as her own by fortune's queen. The triple world itself would be well ruled by such a king as he. To such high bliss and happy fate will I the country dedicate, and my sad heart will cease to grieve if he the precious charge receive. Thus is my careful plan matured, thus for myself is rest secured. Lieges, approve the words I say, or point ye out some wiser way. Devise your prudent plan. My mind is fondly to this thought inclined, but men by keen debating move some middle course which all approve. The monarch ceased. In answer came the joyous princes, glad acclaim. So peacocks in the rain rejoice, and hail the cloud with lifted voice. Murmurs of joy from thousands round shook the high palace with the sound. Then when the gathered throng had learned his will who right and gain discerned, peasant and townsman, priest and chief, all met in consultation brief, and soon agreed with one accord gave answer to their sovereign lord. King of the land, we know thee old, thousands of years have o'er thee rolled, Rama thy son, we pray, anoint, and at thy side his place appoint our gallant prince, so brave and strong, riding in royal state along, our eyes with joyful pride will see screened by the shade that shelters thee. Then spake the king again, as though their hearts' true wish he sought to know. These prayers for Rama's rule suggest one question to my doubting breast. This thing, I pray, with truth explain. Why would ye, while I justly reign, that he, mine eldest son, should bear his part with me as ruling heir? Then all the people made reply, peasant and townsman, low and high. Each noblest gift of form and mind, O monarch, in thy son we find. Do thou the godlike virtues hear which Rama to our hearts endear. So richly blessed with graces, none in all the earth excels thy son. Nay, who to match with him may claim in truth, in justice, and in fame. True to his promise, gentle, kind, unenvious, of grateful mind, versed in the law and firm of soul, he keeps each sense with strict control. With duteous care he loves to sit by Brahmins skilled in holy writ. Hence brightest glory, ne'er to end, and matchless fame his youth attend. Skilled in the use of spear and shield, and arms which heavenly warriors wield, supreme in war, unconquered yet by man, fiend, god in battle met. Whene'er in pomp of war he goes, 'gainst town or city of the foes, he ever comes with L a K S H M, a letter 1E47 back victorious from the fierce attack. Returning homeward from afar borne on his elephant or car, he ever to the townsmen bends and greets them as beloved friends, asks how each son, each servant thrives, how fare our pupils, offerings, wives, and like a father bids us tell each for himself that all is well. If pain or grief the city tries, his heart is swift to sympathize. When festive scenes our thoughts employ, he like a father shares the joy. High is the fate, O king, that gave thy Rama born to bless and save, with filial virtues fair and mild like Kasyap old Marich's child. Hence to the kingdom's distant ends, one general prayer for him ascends. Each man in town and country prays for Rama's strength, health, length of days. With hearts sincere, their wish the same, the tender girl, the aged dame, subject and stranger, peasant, hind, one thought impressed on every mind, at evening and at dawning day to all the gods for Rama pray. Do thou, O king, of grace comply, and hear the people's longing cry, and let us on the throne by thee the lotus-stinted Rama see. O thou who givest boons, attend, a gracious ear, O monarch, lend and for our weal install, consenting to our earnest prayer. Thy godlike Rama regent heir, who seeks the good of all. Canto 3. Dasaratha's precepts. The monarch with the prayer complied of suppliant hands, on every side uplifted like a lotus bed. And then these gracious words he said. Great joy and mighty fame are mine, because your loving hearts incline, in full assembly clearly shown to place my Rama on the throne. Then to via execute ish letter 1e60h standing near, and Vamedva loud and clear the monarch spoke that all might hear. 'Tis pure and lovely Chaitra now, when flowers are sweet on every bough, all needful things with haste prepare that Rama be appointed heir. Then burst the people's rapture out in loud acclaim and joyful shout, and when the tumult slowly ceased the king addressed the holy priest. Give order, saint, with watchful heed for what the coming rite will need. This day let all things ready wait mine eldest son to consecrate. Best of all men of second birth execute, ish letter 1e60h heard the Lord of earth, and gave commandment to the bands of servitors, with lifted hands, who waited on their masters, Now by tomorrow's dawn supply rich gold and herbs and gems of price and offerings for the sacrifice wreaths of white flowers and roasted rice, and oil and honey, separate. New garments and a car of state, an elephant with lucky signs, a fourfold host in ordered lines, the white umbrella and a pair of charis, 261, and a banner fair, 100 vases, row on row to shine like fire in splendid glow, a tiger's mighty skin, a bull with gilded horns most beautiful. All these at dawn of coming day, around the royal shrine array, where burns the fire's undying ray. Each palace door, each city gate with wreaths of sandal decorate. And with the garlands, fragrant scent let clouds of incense smoke be blent. Let food of noble kind and taste be for 100,000 placed, fresh curds, with streams of milk, bedewed to feed the Brahmin multitude. With care be all their wants supplied. And mid the twice-born chiefs divide rich largesse, with the early morn, and oil and curds and roasted corn. Soon as the sun has shone his light pronounce the prayer to bless the rite, and then be all the Brahmins called, and in their ordered seats installed. Let all musicians skilled to play, and dancing girls in bright array stand ready in the second ring within the palace of the king. Each honored tree, each holy shrine with leaves and flowery wreaths entwine, and here and there beneath the shade be food prepared and presents laid. Then brightly clad, in warlike guise, with long swords girt upon their thighs, let soldiers of the nobler sort march to the monarch's splendid court. Thus gave command the twice-born pair to active servants stationed there. Then hastened to the king and said that all their task was duly sped. The king to wise Sumantra spake, Now quick, my lord, thy chariot take, and hither with thy swiftest speed, my son, my noble Rama lead. Sumantra, ere the word was given, his chariot from the court had driven, and Rama, best of all who ride in cars, came sitting by his side. The lords of men had hastened forth from east and west and south and north, Aryan and stranger, those who dwell in the wild wood and on the fell, and as the gods to Indra, they showed honor to the king that day. Like Vasav, when his glorious form is circled by the gods of storm, girt in his hall by kings he saw his car-born Rama near him draw like him who rules the minstrel band of heaven. 262, whose valor filled the land, of mighty arm and stately pride like a wild elephant in stride, as fair in face as that fair stone dear to the moon, of moonbeams grown. 263, with noble gifts and grace that took the hearts of all, and chained each look. World cheering as the Lord of rain, when floods relieve the parching plain. The father, as the sun came nigh, gazed with an ever thirstier eye. Sumantra helped the prince alight from the good chariot passing bright, and as to meet his sire, he went followed behind him reverent. Then Rama clomb, the king to seek that terrace like Kailas's peak, and reached the presence of the king, Sumantra closely following. Before his father's face he came, raised suppliant hands and named his name, 264, and bowing lowly as is meet paid reverence to the monarch's feet. But soon as Dasaratha viewed the prince in humble attitude, he raised him by the hand in haste, and his beloved son embraced. Then signed him to a glorious throne, gem-decked and golden, near his own. Then Rama, best of Raghu's line, made the fair seat with luster shine, as when the orient sun upsprings and his pure beam on Meru flings. The glory flashed on roof and wall, and with strange sheen suffused the hall, as when the moon's pure rays are sent through autumn's starlit firmament. Then swelled his breast with joy and pride as his dear son the father eyed, and as himself more fair arrayed in some clear mirror's face displayed. The aged monarch gazed a while, then thus addressed him with a smile, as Cassiap, whom the world's revere speaks for the Lord of gods to hear. O thou of all my sons most dear, in virtue best, thy father's peer, child of my consort first in place, mine equal in her pride of race, because the people's hearts are bound to thee by graces in thee found, be thou in Pushia's favoring our maid partner of my royal power. I know that thou by nature's bent both modest art and excellent, but though thy gifts no counsel need, my love suggests the friendly reed. Mine own dear son, be modest still, and rule each sense with earnest will. Keep thou the evils far away that spring from love and anger's sway. Thy noble course alike pursue in secret as in open view, and every nerve, the love to gain of ministers and subjects, strain. The happy prince who sees with pride his thriving people satisfied, whose arsenals with arms are stored, and treasury with golden hoard. His friends rejoice as joyed the blessed when Amrit crown their eager quest. So well, my child, thy course maintain, and from all ill thy soul refrain. The friends of Rama, gathered nigh, longing their lord to gratify, ran to Kausalia's bower to tell the tidings that would please her well. She, host of dames, with many a gem and gold and kine rewarded them. Then Rama paid the reverence due, mounted the chariot, and withdrew, and to his splendid dwelling drove while crowds to show him honor strove. The people, when the monarch's speech their willing ears had heard, were wild with joy, as though on each great gifts had been conferred. With meek and low salute, each man turned to his home away, and there with happy heart began to all the gods to pray. Canto 4. Rama summoned. The crowd dismissed, to high debate the monarch called his peers of state, and counsel from their lips obtained, firm in his will explained. Tomorrow with auspicious ray the moon in Pushia's sign will stay, be that the time with happy fate mine eldest son to consecrate, and let my Rama, lotus-eyed, as regent o'er the state preside. He sought within his charioteer, and cried again, bring Rama here. To Rama's home Sumantra hied again to be the prince's guide. His coming told to Rama's ear, suggested anxious doubt and fear. He bade the messenger be led that instant in, and thus he said, tell me the cause, omitting naught, why thou again my house hast sought. The envoy answered, Prince, thy sire has sent thy presence to require. My sender known, tease thine to say if thou wilt go or answer nay. Then Rama, when he heard his speech, made haste the royal court to reach. Soon as the monarch was aware his dearest son was waiting there, eager the parley to begin, he bade them lead the prince within. Soon as he passed the chamber door the hero bent him to the floor, and at a distance from his seat raised his joined hands his sire to greet. The monarch raised him from the ground, and loving arms about him wound, then pointed to a seat that shone with gold for him to rest upon. Aged am I, he said, and worn, in life's best joys my share have borne rights to the gods in hundreds, paid with gifts of corn and largesse made. I yearned for sons, my life is blessed with them, and the of sons the best. No debt to saints or Brahmins, no nor spirits, gods, or self I owe. One duty now remains alone, to set thee on thy father's throne. Now therefore, Rama, hear my rede and mark my words with duteous heed. This day the people's general voice elects thee king of love and choice, and I, consenting to the prayer, will make thee, darling, regent heir. Dread visions, each returning night, with evil omens scare my sight. Red meteors with a fearful sound shoot wildly downward to the ground, while tempests lash the troubled air, and they who read the stars declare that, leagued against my natal sign Rahu, 265, the sun, 266, and Mars combine. When portents dire as these appear, a monarch's death or woe is near. Then while my senses yet are spared, and thought and will are unimpaired, be thou, my son, anointed king, men's fancy is a fickle thing. Today the moon, in order due, entered the sign Punarvasu, 267, tomorrow, as the wise foretell, in Pushia's favoring stars will dwell. then on the throne shalt thou be placed. My soul, prophetic, counsels haste. Thee, O my son, tomorrow I as regent heir will sanctify. So till the coming night be past do thou and Sítá strictly fast, from worldly thoughts thy soul refrain, and couched on holy grass remain. And let thy trusted lords attend in careful watch upon their friend, for, unexpected, check and bar our weightiest counsels often mar. While Burrit too is far away making with royal kin his stay, I deem the fittest time of all thee, chosen regent, to install. It may be Burrit still has stood true to the counsels of the good, faithful to thee with tender trust, with governed senses, pure and just. But human minds, too well I know, will sudden changes undergo, and by their constant deeds alone the virtue of the good is shown. Now Rama go. My son, good night. Fixed is tomorrow for the right. Then Rama paid the reverence due, and quickly to his home withdrew. He passed within, nor lingered there, but sought his mother's mansion, where the dame in linen robes arrayed devoutly in the chapel prayed to fortune's queen, with utterance checked, that she her Rama would protect. There was Sumitra too, and there was Lakshman, a letter 1E47 led by loving care. And when the royal choice they knew Sítá in haste was summoned too. Absorbed with half-shut eyes, the queen attended by the three was seen. She knew that Pushya's lucky hour would raise her son to royal power, so fixed with bated breath each thought on God supreme, by all men sought. To her, as thus she knelt and prayed, Rama drew near, due reverence paid, and then to swell his mother's joy, thus spoke her own beloved boy. O mother dear, my sire's decree entrusts the people's weal to me. Tomorrow I, for so his will, anointed king, the throne shall fill. The few last hours till night shall end Sítá with me must fasting spend, for so my father has decreed, and holy priests with him agreed. What vows soever thou mayst deem my consecration's eve beseem, do thou, sweet mother, for my sake, and for beloved Sítá's make. When the glad news Kausalya heard, so long desired, so long deferred, while tears of joy her utterance broke, in answer to her son she spoke. Long be thy life, my darling, now thy prostrate foes before thee bow. Live long, and with thy bright success my friends, and dear Sumitras bless. Surely the stars were wondrous fair when thee, sweet son, thy mother bare, that thy good gifts such love inspire and win the favor of thy sire. With thee I travailed not in vain, those lotus eyes reward my pain, and all the glory of the line of old Ikshvaku will be thine. He smiled, and on his brother gazed, who sate with reverent hands upraised, and said, My brother, thou must be joint ruler of this land with me. My second self thou, Lakshman, a letter 1E47, art, and in my fortune bearest part. Be thine, Sumitra's son, to know the joys from regal power that flow. My life itself, the monarch's seat, for thy dear sake to me are sweet. Thus Rama to his brother said, to both his mothers. 268 bowed his head, and then with Sítá by his side to his own house the hero hied. Canto 5. Rama's fast. Then Saint V. Execute, ISH letter 1E60, H, to the king came ready at his summoning. Now go, exclaimed the monarch, thou enriched by fervent rite and vow, for Rama and his wife ordain the fast, that joy may bless his reign. The best of those who scripture know said to the king, My lord, I go. To Rama's house V. Execute, ISH letter 1E60, H a hide, the heroes fast by rule to guide, and skilled in sacred texts to tell each step to him instructed well. Straight to Prince Rama's high abode, that like a cloud pale-tinted showed, borne in his priestly car he rode. 2 courts he passed, and in the 3rd he stayed his car. Then Rama heard the holy sage was come, and flew to honor him with honor due. He hastened to the car, and lent his hand to aid the priest's descent. Then spoke V. Execute, ISH letter 1E60, H a words like these, pleased with his reverent courtesies, with pleasant things his heart to cheer who best deserved glad news to hear. Prince, thou hast won thy father's grace, and thine will be the regent's place. Now with thy Sítá, as is right, in strictest fasting spend the night, for when the morrow's dawn is fair the king will consecrate his heir. So Nahush, 269 as the wise relate, Yadi joyed to consecrate. Thus having said, V. Execute, ISH letter 1E60, H and next ordain the fast by rule and text, for Rama faithful to his vows, and the Vidhan dame his spouse. Then from the prince's house, he hied with courteous honors gratified. Round Rama gathered every friend in pleasant talk, a while to spend. He bade good night to all at last, and to his inner chamber passed. Then Rama's house shone bright and gay with men and maids in glad array, as in the morning some fair lake when all her lotuses awake, and every bird that loves the flood flits joyous round each opening bud. Forth from the house a execute, ish letter 1e60 a drove, that with the king in splendor strove, and all the royal street he viewed filled with a mighty multitude. The eager concourse blocked each square, each road and lane and thoroughfare, and joyous shouts on every side rose like the roar of ocean's tide, as streams of men together came with loud huzzah and glad acclaim. The ways were watered, swept and clean, and decked with flowers and garlands green, and all Ayodhyá shone arrayed with banners on the roofs that played. Men, women, boys with eager eyes, expecting when the sun should rise, stood longing for the herald ray of Rama's consecration day, to see, a source of joy to all, the people-honored festival. The priest advancing slowly through the mighty crowd he cleft in two, near to the monarch's palace drew. He sought the terrace by the stair, like a white cloud peak high in air, the reverend king of men to meet who sate upon his splendid seat. Thus will letter 1e5b, a sp a t I arise to meet the monarch of the skies. But when the king his coming knew, he left his throne, and near him drew questioned by him a execute ish letter 1e60h, said that all his task was duly sped. Then all who sate there, honoring a execute ish letter 1e60h, rose as rose the king. Execute ish letter 1e60h obeyed his lord adieu, and all the peers, dismissed, withdrew. Then, as a royal lion seeks his cave beneath the rocky peaks, so to the chambers where abode his consorts Dasaratha strode. Full thronged were those delightful bowers with women richly dressed, and splendid as the radiant towers where Indra loves to rest. Then brighter flashed 1,000 eyes with the light his presence lent, as, when the moon begins to rise the star-thronged firmament,